So at the end of the last video, we got our pieces falling onto the floor. We got them colliding with the walls, and we got them moving onto the floor layer. So this video, we're going to do rotation. We're going to rotate these pieces, and we're also going to have them collide with each other. So we're going to have them actually stack up. Before we do either of those, I'm actually going to add a play, pause, and a reset button, just so that we can, we're getting to the point where we're going to need to probably debug some of this stuff a little more, and it's going to be really handy to have a play, pause, and a reset button. So let's jump into that. All right, so the way that we're going to do that, we can add those to our HTML right here. We'll have above the canvas, this is not going to be pretty, but we'll just have a button, ID, play, pause. And then we'll have a reset button. All right, we'll jump back to our JavaScript, and we'll add some event listeners. So document get by ID. Okay, so for play pause, we're gonna need a reference. So request animation frame gives us a way to cancel it. So the way to stop an animation from happening is by calling cancel animation frame with the ID returned from request animation frame. So every time we call request animation frame, it's going to give us a new ID, and let's call this requested, or let's say animID, and this animID, it doesn't really matter what it is. Like in the MDN docs, I think it even says like you can expect it to be a non-zero number, but like beyond that, you can just tell. You don't want to depend on what it actually is. You just want to know that it exists, and then it's going to be unique for every time this function is called. So we're going to define a variable here, animID, and we'll just have that be null. And so then the first time this is called, that will be set to something which we can then pass into cancel animation frame. So we'll say if play pause is clicked, so I set up these listeners here. If play pause is clicked, we will if animID, oops. So if animID, we will pause. Else we're going to play. And I'll say restart loop. And so if we have an animID, this is the case where we want to call cancel animation. Cancel. Okay. And I think this should work. This should work like this. Let's see. Let's make sure. Okay. So if we, that's very pretty. So if I click this now, it should, great. It's pausing the animation. It says canceling. We will even, I'll even show you how the elapsed, we won't see console logs here anymore. Just to kind of show you exactly that this is no longer running this loop. So we pause and nothing. So it completely stops this animation loop, which is exactly what we want. I don't need this. So, okay, so I know that's doing the right thing. Otherwise, if it is, we want to call, I think we just want to call loop. No, sorry, we want to call request animation frame loop. Right? Because I think that's what we're just calling loop. Okay, well, I think this is actually technically what we want to do down here too. All right, so let's try this. Pause. We got a pause. That looks good. If I play, no. Okay, so it's not resetting. It's not restarting this. Let me figure out why. I see why. So it's because we are not setting animID again. animID equals request animation frame. So that's why. And now this should, I'm going to add some logs here again. Canceling and restarting. All right, let's try this again. Great, canceling. Oh, canceling again. Okay, so something's going on. Anim ID. Oh, right, because we wanna say anim ID is null here. Okay, canceling and restarting. There we go, and it picks up exactly where it left off. So great, this is what we want. I'm just gonna make this a little bit nicer looking. I'm gonna go back to our HTML. I'm gonna wrap these in a div. And this way the buttons will sit on top of the, yeah, that's what we want. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to do, this is just for my own convenience. You don't normally want to use auto select because it's generally not, I think it's auto select, is that right? No. Oh, autofocus, that's it, autofocus. So you generally don't want to use this. It's usually not very accessible, but for our own convenience, I'm just gonna have that auto selected so that when I start up this page, I can just hit enter and it will pause it and restart it. Okay, so reset. So if we want to reset this page to the beginning, reset is going to be, what are we going to do here? So we want to reset the piece for one thing, and we want to clear the background, background render, and we want to reset the floor. So we'll need a floor reset. Let's see, create floor. And a reset here is just going to reset to new tiles. So we'll say okay, so that should reset our tiles. So we're going to reset our background, reset our floor. So and rendering the background is going to just going to clear the whole screen. We'll reset our floor, we'll reset our piece, and I think that should keep going. We might need to do one or two other things, but let's see. All right, cannot access create tiles before initialization. That's this is one slightly annoying thing here, but let's call this function. And I'm scoping this inside the create floor function just because it's we don't need to create these tiles outside of that floor. Okay, great. Here we go. So play pause still works. Canceling, restarting, and then we'll reset. Oh, that did not work. Piece.reset is not a function. I need to expose that from the piece. Create piece. So reset is here. And it needs to be here. Okay, we'll try this. Reset. There we go. That looks mostly good. Something's a little bit off because if you notice, oh no, that's okay. I think if you catch it like right at the end of a loop or something, I just noticed it was off by one. Off by one seems to be an issue today, but anyway, it's resetting. Let's see if we play pause and then reset. Oh, that did not like that. I think it's, oh, because it's canceling, it's not. So we would need to restart this. Let's see, play pause, reset game. So we would need to, I'll say if there's no anim ID, anim ID request animation frame loop. I think that'll do it. Pause that, reset. Okay, good. That's what we want. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's, I'll look into that a little bit later. It's not, I don't think it's super pressing because these are mostly just for debugging. Okay, so we got our play pause. That's going to be helpful. Next, let's see, should we make the pieces rotate or should we stack them up on the ground? I think we'll make them rotate and then maybe I'll stack them up in the next video. So if we go to make these rotate, there's a couple different ways. We could write a little algorithm that will loop over all the tiles and basically move the columns into the rows. But I think instead of doing that, I'm just gonna do the quick and dirty version, which is basically it's gonna be making these shapes are gonna have like all of their rotations in here. So instead of a shape being an array of rows, each shape is going to be an array of rotations that have rows. So we're going to have one extra nesting in here. So this is going to be, this will be like north, south, east, and west. I wonder if maybe it would be a better idea to use those instead of, yeah, I'm going to use north, south, east, and west instead of these nested arrays. I think this will be clearer. So let's do this. Let's change this to, no, is that right? Let's see. Yeah, so this will be an object and we'll have north is going to be, so this is going to be the array here, north, and actually a better way to do this is like this, north. Okay, so now we have our north rotation. This is getting a little bit messy, but that's all right. It's fine. We're doing a prototype here. So if we go down to, let's before we add our other rotations, let's go fix this first. Let's go say in our piece, when we render our piece, we want to render. So create piece. Okay, so piece render. Yeah, render. So our shape is going to be this, and our rotation is going to be, we'll give this a number. We'll have like a north, south. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to create an array up the top. This is just kind of taking notes, but directions. We're going to have north, south, east, and west. And then we'll have a rotation index here. And this will start at 0. And our shape, whenever we make a reference to our shape now, we're going to need to say shape. So shape at rotation index. So there, and we want to do it here. Okay, and the reason why we want to do that instead of, for example, like setting the shape with the rotation index here is because we're going to change that rotation index. And so rather than like setting up a whole new shape, we're just going to change the index, and then that way all of these functions are going to pick up on the new index, and they'll use that new index. Okay, so so if we move this up to the top, we have our directions, and then our shapes are going to have north, south, east, and west, and north is at 0, and so we initialized our rotation index to 0, and let's see if this still works. Of course not. Of course it doesn't still work. What was I thinking? So if we get an index 151, okay, shape, rotation index, let's see, shapes, let's log our shape here. So our shape is, oh yeah, right, because we don't want the rotation index, we want the direction. So the rotation index is 0, and we want that to be one of our directions. So I think having directions might have made this a little bit more complicated, but it's going to make it more readable. So I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I do think it's going to make it more readable. So let's do direction instead of rotation index. Change this to direction. And if we go back up here, so direction is going to be, what is this? Directions. And we are going to give this a rotation index. It's going to be this. And so now we can use rotation index here. And so now direction is going to be north. Yeah, that was my mistake. Okay, great. So now we're back on track. Oh, we are mostly back on track. Why are we no longer colliding with the floor? That's kind of interesting. We must have missed a rotation. I mean, we must have missed one of these. We must be updating our shape. Oh yeah, right here. Shape.length. We want this to be shape direction.length. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any of these shapes. Shapes. Okay, that looks right. Good, that's better. Okay, now I'm gonna add these other rotations in here. Okay, so I've got all these rotations. I think having these cardinal directions is going to add a little bit more logic for making sure that we're rotating. So like I have a couple of pieces that only have 2, so most of them have 4. So like the L and the J, they rotate in 4. They rotate, around 4 times. Some of them only rotate in 2, have 2 rotations. So like the I and the S, they just have a north and an east, and like the O only has 1. It just has the north. So like you rotate the O, it doesn't do anything. A couple of different ways I could do this. I guess the easy way, as long as I'm keeping this pretty simple and rough, well, whatever. We'll make it a little bit better, because I was going to say we could make this. We could just put 4 directions that all have the same thing here. I'm going to make it a little bit better than that. I'll just kind of fall back. So basically, yeah, I'll explain it when I actually go do it. So if we look at everything should still work. I haven't changed anything yet. Okay, great. I'm going to also take out some of these logs. Okay, so if we look at so we want to rotate these. So if we go down to our update function, or if we go down to our keyboard handlers, actually, we want to add a new key. So we want to say, if I press up, I want to rotate. Functions, rotate, arrow up. So we're going to need to update our functions, move functions. We're going to need to add a rotate function here. And this rotate is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to update the array index for our rotation. Okay, let's see. I think that should do it. So if we, I don't know that this is going to do it. Actually, I feel like this is, I'm kind of thinking on my feet here. So we'll see if this actually works. So up, hitting up right now. Not seeing anything happen. What do we need to do here? Okay, so we're getting there. Rotation index. So rotation index is 0. And, oh, yeah, I see, because we need to actually, that's interesting. So we need to, we're going to need to update this direction. Let's see, where are we going to need to update this direction? We'll update it in, I think in render, that doesn't seem right. Let's have a get direction function. So instead of this just being set here, we'll say and this will return this. So now whenever we need to get it, we can we'll have the most up to date value for it. Oops. And now we need to update all of our instances of direction. And actually, instead of doing this, I'm going to make a get shape with direction function. Get shape. Let's see. I'll call it get current rotation. No, you know what? I'll just call it get direction. That's fine. That's a fine name for it. Except what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to include shape in here. And I really don't like that name, so I'm going to rename this get shape. I guess that sort of obscures the fact that it's like including the direction, but to me that feels like a better way to, like when I'm trying to access things off of this, get shape for each row, like that just makes more sense to me. All right, let's see if this still works. All right, that's good. If I hit up, okay, so we're great. Oh, okay, a couple of issues. So one issue is we're rotating the wrong way, and then the other issue is that we're always expecting there to be four elements in the array, and that was the one thing I mentioned. So I'll fix that right now. But if we have a shape with 4 rotations, I think it's rotating the wrong direction. Yeah, it's like rotating in kind of a weird order, so we'll fix that. And then it's also not looping back around, so we'll fix that too. All right, so we got a couple of fixes to make. I'm gonna make these. I'll update the directions first. So this should be north, east, southwest, right? So if I hit up, okay, this feels better. So now we're going north, east, south, west, and then breaks. So let's figure out what's going on there. Got it. So we are kind of doing the same thing we were. We need to, let's see, next. So rotate. Rotation index. Oh no, actually this should be, I think this should be okay. Greater than directions length, greater than or equal to. Maybe that's why. I think I messed something up here. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so next index. So this should be greater than or equal to. All right, so it's still okay. So if we have a shape with 4 rotations, everything looks good. And the one last thing we're going to have to figure out is if we have a shape with just 2 rotations, we're going to need to fix that. Let's see. I think I can do this with, instead of using directions length, I think I can. Let me think about this. I think I can use, let's see, rotation index +1. I think what I want to do is northeast. Yeah, okay, so I did actually set this up okay for myself. So I have the ones that have the shapes that have 4 rotations of northeast, southwest. The ones that have 2 rotations are just north and east, and the one with 1 is just north. So I'm going to be able to handle this as long as I use, instead of for the next index, instead of, so this rotate function is finding the next index, and if it's past the end of the array length, it'll rotate back around to 0. So instead of using directions length, I want to use object keys of shape, right? Because this will give me the directions, and if it's a shape with 2 directions, north and east, it will rotate back around to north after east, I think, if everything works well. So here's 4, so we know that works. Here's a square, moment of truth. All right. There's another one with 4. Nothing breaks yet. That's what we want. All right, that's great. So now we have all of our shapes, and this doesn't look quite like Tetris does. Like there's something, Tetris shapes I think move a little bit differently. They must rotate it at a different point, but this is going to be good enough for us today. So, all right, we got our shapes rotating. We got our play pause button. Shapes rotating took a little more time than I thought it was going to. So let's save the floor collisions for the next video. All right, I'll see you then.